Good afternoon and welcome to the Soul Shop. I am your host, Phyllis King. And today we're going to be speaking with a shaman, a medium, and an empath healer, Bres Trevino. She really is the whole package when it comes to healers and to intuitives. And I think you're going to find her information riveting and informational, but you're going to get some answers to your own questions and challenges. Her website is askbrie.com, ask-brie.com. But let's welcome her to the program. Brie, thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me, Phyllis.
Oh my goodness. I've known you for a period of time. I'm fortunate to know many of my guests, and you are quite a powerful, intuitive medium. And I think that's one of the things that took me by surprise, how naturally gifted you are. And so we're going to want to hear about your story, how you became aware of those gifts and talents. And you're always in search of more truth and information. And you are a shaman and a healer. So you have a lot of different tools in your toolbox, but you're also, let's just say, a badass professional. You've got a great analytical mind as well, which makes it when you work with people, you just know how to dial in what the right thing is. I don't know, you use this vast skill set you have. And besides having an enormous heart, I mean, you are really the full package, which is one of the reasons I couldn't wait to have you on the show. So all that being said, that I'm in such admiration for who you are, talk to us about your evolution. How, how'd you come to be this? How did you know you had these gifts and talents? And when did you get the courage to step into it fully?
So, um, having the intuitive gifts is something that's been throughout my personal family lineage for many, many years. Um, and over time, even as a child, I started noticing things that other people weren't noticing. I learned how to manifest when I was probably about 9 years old, realizing that when I would put a significant amount of energy or thought into something that I was wanting or needing, that somehow it showed up. And so throughout my existence and throughout my evolution as a child, I just continued to piggyback on those experiences. And as I got older, I started really becoming like infatuated with the fact of unseen forces being of assistance whenever
Mm.
you need them.
That's fascinating to me. Now, before we go on, I have to ask this question, and I ask this of everyone who is intuitive that I interview, but I notice a lot of psychics, intuitives, and healers have had some challenging circumstances in their upbringing, which really caused them to go inward. Did that happen to you, or was it, hearts and flowers growing up?
Well, at some point I feel like, my childhood was great. It was wonderful. We had a very solid foundation my grandparents provided for my whole entire family. Now, as we got older as adults, and as I had my own experience and traumatic events that would happen, I then went in to realize that sometimes things that were happening throughout childhood was in a bit of an illusion. And in realizing that as an adult was a very big pill to swallow.
Hmm.
And so then working backwards through all of that, through childhood into my experiences with relationship, with how I was with other individuals, I slowly began to see how different points in my life, traumatic or not, or even like limiting belief systems, how I came to be this person and how I would react or how I would feel or be within certain scenarios. And being an adult and a mother, having to work backwards through that and unravel all that and being able to look at that and being able to swallow it and look at it and start creatively healing from it has really been the journey for me.
Well, see, this is what's so fascinating to me about you is that you speak about it in such an analytical, practical way, but I know how difficult and challenging some of that had to have been. But you've been able to pull this all together and bring that to offer in all of your services and offerings that you help people with. So before we get into talking about all the goodies that you do in your business, so can you give us an example of a manifestation you noticed as early as 9 or 10? That's remarkable.
Oh, I'll give you a very specific experience at that point. At that point, and it may seem silly, but I was 9 years old. I really was in need of some kind of pet or some kind of something that would have availability of itself of nothing but pure love.
Hmm.
And so I remember wishing upon a star and then consistently thinking about it, thinking about it, thinking about it, seeing it, seeing it. And then one day, my parents had decided to get a golden retriever. And I thought to myself, okay, this is something. I bet you I can do this with a lot of things. Now, over time, as a child, you start, veils are obviously created over time. And so I lost that. I lost it for a good period of my life,
Hmm.
lost sight of it because I came into the human self and was like, gotta make money, gotta get everything organized, have to, make sure that I'm taking care of everything. And with that being said, I was a single mom for a period of time to where I felt that tremendous amount of pressure where I could not give myself that honor and that time to be able to do what I wanted to do because I felt I had to do what I needed to do to provide for my son. And within that experience, I was in escrow for 16 years and
Amazing.
I was never gratified by it. Now, throughout this, I would consistently be messing around with my tarot cards or reading, I even would check in with the Bible. I would check in with my highest self. I mean, Buddhism, shamanism. And so I'd collect these little bits and pieces. And when I would find myself doubting myself, I always fell back on my spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
So in 2020, of course, when the pandemic hit, and with not being in alignment with what my highest self truly wanted, my spirit actually broke. I had a complete nervous breakdown to where I could feel nothing. And I think that was the scariest point of my life in this experience is that when you feel nothing and you feel your spirit is broken, where do you go?
Wow.
And so, and especially knowing that when this happened, I knew that the career that I built was no longer, that this
Right.
was it.
Well, and
So,
it's interesting because I think what you described is a little bit common, one piece of it at least, in that really powerful spiritual teachers and healers, it's something you have to get comfortable with because it's such a, I don't want to say a difficult path until you make peace with it, but you do take on a lot of energy when you come out into the world. And so I think going into like escrow, for instance, or whatever the profession might be, is somewhat common until you feel ready to come into your gifts and talents in a more public way. But for you, what I noticed from the first time I met you, you were what we say in the real estate business. Not that I'm in the real estate business, but move in ready. You are so gifted and so talented, and your readings and your skill is at such a high level. I would have never known that you had waited all this time to put yourself out there. So and I know that along the way you've been doing some sessions. I mean, I know you a little bit, so I know that you've done sessions anyhow. If people find you, people have had a way
oh,
of finding you.
yeah, absolutely. And that's when I really found uh, the point in service, right? The way that I wanted to serve. It has such a gratifying effect to be a part of someone's life experience and
Mm-hmm.
to be able to be allowed into that space with them with such trust and support to where you can help them navigate. And being a shaman, working directly with the soul itself, I work on an array of things,
Yeah.
right? So I look at where the self is at this present time, where it needs to go, where it's off balance. and how we connect those two pieces to get you right back into balance and in a healthy sense of self and honoring the self. I think
Okay.
that, yeah, I think that the biggest piece from my nervous breakdown was when I realized I dishonored myself by not following through
Yeah.
what my life purpose was. And that was really, really hard. And so
Oh,
from there, I had to rebuild myself all over again from scratch.
you know,
And
that I love what you just said, but you know, I spent some time at the Berkeley Psychic Institute. Man, I showed up one day and said, I think I'll take a class, and I left 4 years later. But they have a saying there, you may not be crazy, you're just psychic. And I
yeah.
mean, you certainly fit the mold for that. And yeah, and you're so highly sensitive and gifted. And if that isn't nurtured in a certain way, on, like you said, not really listening and honoring yourself, it can really cause us to implode. But you have masterfully come through that experience, and now you're just shining in the most incredible ways in your life. It's really remarkable. So let's kind of piggyback from that point, because you make it sound so effortless, which again is one of the things I admire the most about you. Talk about these deep principles and these things that are really monumental tasks on all levels. And you're just like, oh, yeah, it's this, this, and this. And you've always been so modest and really unaware of how incredible you actually are in these realms. And because I've been doing this work 30 plus years, I've kind of been there, done that, seen it in all areas in my industry. And so I still feel like you don't always recognize that what you do is remarkable. Do you? Or am I, or you're just kind of like, no,
I'm
this is
getting there.
me. This is just what I do. I'm amazing. Yes.
I, for me, it's just, it's so honoring and humbling, to just kind of be a part of those forces that help navigate people into peace and healing and confidence within the self, and really being present with this life experience and understanding that there are so many forces that are happening that once you begin to recognize them and you follow them, it's just, there's so much support when people are open to it and willing.
Mhm.
And I that's what I think is the most beautiful part of this, right? Is to be in connection with spirit in itself.
Mhm.
It's so beautiful. It's you learn how to take things not for granted, but to understand, like, wow, that was meant for me, and I understand what that means
Mhm.
exactly. It
Mhm.
really does something to you. It
Yeah.
really does.
That's beautiful. Okay, so let's dive into all the goodies
Yes.
that are you and some of the things you do in your work and your business. Well, there's several really powerful things. Um, and we're going to talk about your free download, the Empath Survival Guide, at some point here. But you talked about being a manifester. You recognize manifesting early on. But at what point did you become aware that you had mediumship ability?
Oh, mediumship abilities, I recognize probably within like my teenage years.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so it's like I was aware, but I was also afraid. Some folks don't take that lightly, and some folks are really not open to that. And I've had experiences to where I felt like I really needed to, draw back from that. Even when I felt so compelled, I had to learn how to involve humility and integrity, right?
Mhm.
So it plays such a big part, because when you're entering into people's life experience, this is a very serious thing for them. It's very sensitive. So within how your delivery is, you have to uphold a tremendous amount of integrity and respect for their life experience,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So just being I've learned quite a bit with how to develop my mediumship skills and how to deliver them properly, to
Hmm.
where there's an understanding of support and not offense. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yes.
Because a lot
Yeah.
of people, they don't, sometimes they want to hear what they want to hear and not what they need to hear. And so it has to have a specific delivery so that it settles nicely within their energetic system and in their allowance and acceptance of it.
Well, and this is what I mean about you have so much skill in how to deal with people. And so I think that's one of the things too that comes when you've taken the path of going the business route of being in that real estate world, that you've had to deal with all kinds of people and learn all these diplomatic tasks and things. And it really serves when you tune into this other realm. So all these skills are transferable. And now I happen to know that you're an intuitive life coach as well, among you have many different credentials, of course. And I know that you have this amazing program about mirroring. Could you talk a little bit about that? Because it's really remarkable. Never heard
Sure,
anything like it.
sure. So I created this module before I had even had the breakdowns. This is before I was even trained in shamanism yet, to where it kind of breaks it down. It breaks you down to your bare minimum. And the mirror theory is something that's really interesting. With some of my clients, I've noticed I'd have them look themselves in the mirror. And a lot of my clients had a really hard time doing this.
Hmm.
And so in a sense, I trained them and I would teach them that in a way of building confidence and self-love is to really being able to look at yourself and say these things, say nice things, bringing out the confidence in what's in yourself. Because looking at yourself in the mirror and not people don't realize it. You look in the mirror every day, but when you really look in the mirror, can you do it?
Right.
You know? And so being able to be there and kind of witness the reactions
You
was
know
something
what?
that hit me.
Yeah, and so you have a whole process that goes into this, but I recently did a 30-day meditation challenge on Facebook with some folks. And one of the things that came out of the meditation was look in the mirror and smile at myself. And I thought of you and I said, Bree's been talking about this for years already, right? But I noticed when I just smiled at myself like I would someone walking on the street, like I usually do, hey, it felt so great. So it's interesting to me how these things just come to you naturally, that you're getting these downloads before the rest of us are. And then you've created a program around it to help people heal and come into their best lives. So, and by the way, of course, this will be up on the screen for folks, but it's ask-bree.com for all of your services. So there's other things you do to heal, and people will explore that on your site. But let's talk about shamanism, because now that's part of your experience. And I love that because I have a working knowledge of what shamanism is, incorporating all the elements. But talk to us about this part of your life and business.
You know, now being where I'm at, I'm realizing that I think I've always had a tie and a very strong interest in shamanism without a clear understanding of really how it worked. And now being in it, it's a very big task that takes a lot of energy, but it is beyond worth it. The training is intensive, and it has to do with this life, past lives, healing from the past lives and bringing it forward in indigenous styles of healing. So no way do I have to touch you, or are there any pharmaceuticals or any kind of thing like that involved. It really just takes the courage and the bravery of the self to be able to be okay with going inward and looking at what's coming up. And typically what's been found is that you may react to certain things a certain way. You may have certain emotions that you carry a certain way. There's roots to that.
Mm-hmm.
So what we do is we go in and we find the roots to that, and we pull the healing forward, whether it be from past lives, in this lifetime, no matter what, the healing comes forward. And right in front of you, you can see it happening. It
Hmm.
is one of the most remarkable modalities I have ever studied. It is by far
Hmm.
my favorite.
Hmm.
Another piece of being able to work with the soul itself is being able to do like space clearings. When we do space clearings, there's something involved called psychopomp work,
Hmm.
where we are able to actually assist souls that are stuck in a specific state of healing and able to provide the human vibratory rate for the healing to take place, we witness that. So
Wow.
we're able to go and witness and be a part of this to help souls that are stuck, souls that are in dismay, souls that are lost, be able to find their wholeness and to move into their different state of healing.
Yeah.
So it's just been a whole array of learning who you give your power away to, how to draw it back, soul traumatic events. You are in a car accident. Sometimes when traumatic events happen, a piece of you gets stuck there. So we go into those very touchy moments and create healing there. The guides do. We're just there guiding.
Well, and this is one of the pieces that I think is so great about what your services and how you do it. You have a lot of different ways to go at people's challenges and touch parts of their being that may not get touched through other modalities, certainly mainstream modalities. And it's so necessary, so necessary. So, and because you are ultra sensitive in the most fantastic ways, you have also created something, maybe this was for yourself, excuse me, the Empath Survival Guide. Talk to us about this, which is also a free download on your site. For why is this necessary, important? What does it do? Why did you create it?
Oh, it's so important, especially in this time and space of existence, of human existence in life, and especially after the pandemic. I realized that when I was searching for a therapist to help me with my stuff, that it was so hard to find availability or anyone, really, months. And I thought to myself, if I can create something that can help people, especially empathic, intuitive people, help manage that, what would that look like? And so what I did was I started pulling pieces from each of my modalities that made sense, that I felt were very good for people to use on a daily basis. For some, it may be, common sense, but for others, it is not. And the roles that these little things play over time is huge, because you start being able to get in control of your energy field and within your inner guidance system as to what affects you, what doesn't, how to clean your energy field on a daily basis, how to maintain that peace and your oneness and your inner sense of self. And then also being able to understand when things are coming up, that's not mine, this is mine, I need to look at that, and being able to not necessarily attach to it, but to just observe it and then deal with it.
And what I noticed, I went through the guide. There's step by steps. You lay it out very clearly. Try this, do this, do that. And
yes.
Some of it is really interesting things I've never thought of or heard of before. And this again is what I love about your situation, is you come up with some things I've never really heard before in the way you do it. So this is one of the reasons I really support you and your work and how you can help people. So if anyone wants that guide, they go to ask-brie.com, and it's right on there. You have the most beautiful website, by the way, ask-brie.com, and they can download that for free 24/7, and people can reach you there as well. And I'm so happy to know that you are once again taking clients, because I know you were really just taking a lot of time for yourself, and you're like the most hidden talent out there in the Bay Area, and you're a hidden treasure. And I'm really excited that you're out there getting ready to help people. And I know people are going to be so excited and served to work with you. So what's your call to action, or what do you want to say to folks in our remaining moments here about either working with you, or just what a message you might have, or just anything else you want to share that we didn't cover today?
Sure. I would definitely say, that if you're having any kind of sense of feeling like dismay, or that you do need some guidance, to give me a call, or an email or whatever. The point is that if you're feeling specifically drawn to me, that's for a very specific reason. And so I really rely on that and lean into that, because I have found that within deciding to serve humanity at the best that I can while I'm here, it takes a very specific sense of self. You have to have courage. You have to have, bravery. And I just want to let you know that I'm here to help support you and lead you through that and get you to your highest sense of self and inner peace. You just have to be willing. You just have to be
That's
open.
right. The willing spirit. And if anybody's got courage, it's this beautiful woman I'm staring at in my camera. You are really remarkable in so many ways, immensely talented. And I'm really grateful you're out there serving, because we've been needing you. We've been needing you out there. And I know you've had your own life to deal with, but I'm so excited you're here. And I encourage everybody to head to your website, ask-brie.com, get that empath survival guide, check out all of her services. You will not regret it. I think it's life-changing work, and you're lovely to boot. You're just the real deal. So thank you so much, Brie, for taking the time to be here today. It's always my pleasure to share a space with you.
Thank you so much, Phyllis. Thank you. The best. Thank you, Phyllis.